Who?
They all wanna know how I live my life, how I spend my money, how I treat my mom, why. But I hope that he don't show them what I'm truly like. Cause if he does, then my two big bills won't get paid on time. Cause I can't afford to lose another pay pick. Joon's gonna make everybody think I'm crazy. Show the world how I made a stationary statement. Slave trade joke, but I swear I'm not a racist. I said I loved you, but I didn't mean it. On a feels a nagger, eat it. Skin complexion like a white cheddar cheese it. And I'm getting that feeling, it time June. Please don't ask my viewers why they could. Yeah, he gon' show my lousy interview. You can eat it with a spoon. Cause in time, yeah, in time, gambling addiction, alcohol abuse, cash advances for money matches I lose. You can eat it with a spoon. Cause in time, yeah, in time, June, I got a feeling June gon' call me out for doing dashing everything, even though I have gout. Shrimp balls and barbecue, I'm in the mood to chow. Gonna order a lot of food, some gabagool, and I want it right now. He's gonna expose me and I ain't ready for it. 672 and Derek, I hope he ignores him. I'm just a little streamer and I can't really afford it. I swear to God, if he slanders me, I'll get a lawyer. I don't know what to do, so I'll act nice. Try to beg less, yeah, right. Stop talking about steak, this is my night. Dog's coming out, so I guess I better act right. Please don't ask my viewers why they could. Yeah, he gon' show my lousy interview. You can eat it with a spoon. Cause in time, yeah, in time, gambling addiction, alcohol abuse, cash advances for money matches I lose. You can eat it with a spoon. Cause in time, yeah, in time, cause in time, yeah, in time, cause in time, yeah, in time,
Hey now, hey now, hey now.
Hey now. Well, let's get started. Sure, more people will come in as time goes on, but
It was sponsored by War Thunder.
Pulling one thread of a
intro
purity
stuff.
thing is going to upheave my entire.
I hope you all are having a good day. I've had a bit of a shit day, so I'm kind of looking forward to being able to point and laugh. Welcome, Demeter.
Hey now, hey now.
life in a way that scares the living crap out of me.
In the months of November and December of 2023, this thread was pulled and undid Gerard, the completionist Khalil.
These allegations are slanderous, and we believe we're done with selfish intent.
This was all sparked from Gerard's family-run charity that, though they received hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations, did not donate a single penny of the money for nearly 10 years. The drama around it exposed Gerard's long history of lies, from lying that his company was covering the cost of the event.
So for those guys who don't know, we had a show last year, and it went great, but it was very expensive, and TOBG covered the cost of it.
Grossly overstating the amount his charity event, Indieland, raised.
Almost $1 million in the last 7 years.
Amazing.
And this year we're doing it in person.
Even lying about
This shit gets my blood boils, because like I said, this was like one of my like dreams, like to be able to get famous, to get to the point where I could raise money for a cause. I mean, my story's kind of like Gerard, not the idea of losing a parent at a young age to a horrible disease. I lost mine to breast cancer. He lost his to CT, or whatever the hell it was, the memory thing. I'm sure it'll go over what it's called. I apologize, my voice is kind of weak today. Like I said, it's been one of those days. But to see him piss away that opportunity and now make it just worse for everyone, whoever wants to raise money now online, it's just all just going to do is think back to this scumbag.
the disease he is fundraising money for.
Someone who's diagnosed with FTD lasts about 6.5 months.
His sudden dip in views reflects the distrust the community now has with him, and this is how it was all undone.
Well, from the outside, his life seems picture perfect, but for a local high school student, looks are deceiving.
That was a circa 2006 story on Gerard Khalil's high school
Welcome,
senior project. The description reads, quote, I was on KCOW News a few years back for my first feature on the true story of my mother's illness and battle with dementia. Unquote. Gerard's mother, at the age of 56, after years of exhibiting strange behavior, was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. The Khalil family, a family
My
of
mother
7,
died
had
at
their lives
56
changed
of
forever.
breast cancer.
Charles Khalil, Gerard's father, an immigrant from Lebanon, the same year Gerard's mother was diagnosed, began a yearly golf tournament for the disease. Being that Charles had amassed his wealth through his company that seemed to operate in consulting gas stations and convenience stores with the knowledge and resources gained from operating his own gas stations.
God
With
damn.
these connections, major brands like Monster, Pepsi, Coca-Cola all could be seen participating in the golf tournaments. But Gerard did not want to run golf tournaments or tread the path his father had laid for him.
That's
Instead, he
good to know,
chose
right?
a ubiquitously uncertain path. Gerard wanted to make it in entertainment. It is not clear how his father reacted to this, only that he was not entirely supportive of Gerard, and no matter what success Gerard brought forward, it never matched his father's towering expectations.
The amount of money I've made, the lives that I've changed, the people that I've helped, all the amazing, the opportunities that I've had, the cool things I could have done. My father still thinks that I'm not doing the right thing.
Regardless, Gerard
Okay, I think we may just have to call it. I think that I'm gonna throw out a crazy hypothesis here. Now I'm gonna say that this entire family is fucked.
persisted, enrolling in Fullerton College in 2006.
I don't know if I'm gonna
This
watch
was
them on
the
stream. I'm
same
kind of
year
watching this
he
one
made
because
his
it's
first
relatively
YouTube
short.
channel, JB Super Badass 11. This appeared to only host his school projects and related material. This 2009 video is likely the first appearance of Greg Wilmont, who was one of Gerard's very close friends.
Thank God you're paying me for this.
I hate to break it to you, but we actually aren't paying you for this.
What?
There wouldn't be much else on this channel as Gerard was building a habit of scrapping projects and rebuilding them from the ground up. Like his second YouTube channel, Ari and Stone, created September 22nd, 2009. This
God
channel,
damn.
as the name implies, was a sketch-based channel with Gerard and a friend playing Stone and Ari respectively. Stone was the foolish, happy-go-lucky character, and Ari was a prude that sought to bring order to his friend's chaos. While much of the comedy is bland and this trope has long been utilized to much greater effect, this series captures the looseness of a 2009 YouTube.
He's right there. We found Osama. He's right there.
What?
Would you like some homemade lemonade?
Why, yes. We would like to try your product.
Could we please have a sample of your
Ugh.
product and your phone numbers?
I'm 12.
Not off limits to me!
This series was a flop, another unsuccessful channel that, to Gerard, warranted the creation of a new channel.
I
One
love
that
how
wouldn't
he
be
just
so
keeps making new
pigeonholed,
channels.
And one that would be set up not only to host his content on YouTube, but to also try to promote his website, thatonevideo.com. Unfortunately, this was never archived to the Wayback Machine when active. However,
Aw.
his YouTube channel was, but only the channel page. The majority of videos here are missing, but are clearly themed around a show satirically emphasizing masculinity with videos such as How to Torture a Thief Like a Man, Man to Man Time with a Man, Episode 2, How to Cook Steak Like a Man, Now You're a Man. In the sea of lost media, one episode, specifically episode 5 of the Now You're a Man cooking show, survived.
Once people start realizing that we puppets are strong
Now
too,
they got puppets.
then...
There will never be a puppet president! Now, don't cross the meats.
This around 7-minute long video provides a blueprint for the rest of the series. It was not entirely a cooking show and leaned
like
more
cooking
into
with
sketch
Cobra.
comedy, with episodes adopting different themes. The effort applied was perhaps misplaced, considering the custom-made puppets and the names on the credits show high production value. But the name, How to Cook Burgers Like a Puppet, would perform terrible in YouTube searches.
I
That
bet it
and
would.
there was no custom thumbnail. This was doomed to fail just from that, but Gerard provides a different reason for its failure.
And then I started a cooking show called Now You're a Man, the Cooking Show, and that was a fun show that I did for a while. It was very offensive, very over the top, and it was about putting bacon on everything. And then Epic Mealtime came along, and they took that market, so I had to stop that show.
This is the beginning of documenting Gerard's lies. What would normally be dismissed as possibly misremembering, misspeaking, or just another variation of simple human error cannot be done with Gerard as it happens too frequently. To start, Epic Mealtime did not quote-unquote come along. Its first upload predates the Now You're a Man cooking show by more than 2 months. Gerard also claims that Epic Mealtime took quote-unquote that market.
I'm sorry, that line got to me so much. This was the start of Gerard's lies.
Epic Mealtime's videos, besides already having eye-catching titles and thumbnails that strongly work with the theme of their channel, made
talking
the
about a
food
fucking
look
downfall
delectable. They were
in,
unique in showing the increase in
views
calories,
on that channel.
relying on excess, utilizing fast pacing, and capturing well the cooking and consuming process. Gerard's cooking show had none of these things and was in an entirely different market than Epic Mealtime's. Yet in a different video, Gerard states this.
And a month before we launched, Epic Mealtime came out, and it was almost the exact same show.
These are my online gaming friends. We took a break out of destroying noobs on Blackout to destroy your arteries on YouTube.
We got hit with a lot of copyright strikes early on, and so I was
Copyright strikes? On what?
forced to take almost all the videos down.
Here, Gerard is more precise in stating that Epic Mealtime preceded his show, but severely misrepresents his show by stating that it was almost the exact same show. The only similarities between these two are that they involve food. And then Gerard pivots to talking about copyright strikes and being forced to take the videos down, but doesn't expand on where the copyright strikes come from. Whatever the case, the cooking show failed. And not only was his channel later abandoned, all the videos were deleted. This is where his YouTube presence likely would have ended if it wasn't for John Jafari, known to the internet as JonTron, a popular retro game reviewer that expanded coverage to retro media and then to whatever he wanted to make. According to Gerard, they went to rival high schools, yet somehow became friends within that time. But
Oh my god. That's how we... Well, I don't think they even were real... I don't think the YouTube claim system was that expanded. Like, it's just... it's just more of a talk. Well, I don't know why we're trying to go and make logic of his blatant lies. But my god, he knew JonTron. JonTron is responsible for this?
California State University, Fullerton, his previous channel failing, and being dissatisfied with his job at Best Buy, Gerard needed direction, and in a way, he got that from JonTron. As Gerard explains, JonTron wanted to livestream himself playing games with Aaron Hansen. Together, the two hosted the Let's Play channel Game Grumps. The only issue was they did not have an appropriate location to do so, which is where Gerard comes in because he already had a streaming setup in his parents' home. So not only did he provide his home as a stream location, but was actively working in the background swapping consoles as games as the host saw necessary. But the stream eventually winded down and JonTron left.
I'm not anyone famous, so I'm going to turn this off. And the chat said, no! Keep playing games! What the fuck are you talking about? Keep playing games. I'm going to bed and so should you guys.
From here, Gerard states they accepted the audience's invitation to continue streaming in place of JonTron, calling out of work the following day as a result of this. It was then, after quitting his job at Best Buy and with the guidance of Aaron Hansen, Gerard came up with a new idea.
In the next few weeks, you're going to be receiving a new show called The Completionist. I am a completionist, and so each and every week, I'm going to bring you guys a completionist aspect of all these games, whether they be new games, old games, arcade games.
This series, at the end of 2011,
yeah,
was
what exactly
launched to the
was
Normal
this?
Foods website. Normal Boots was a conglomeration of various gaming creators that did not
Oh
feel
god, he was
secure
part of
with
Normal
YouTube and
Boots.
the
Ah,
constant
damn
changing
him with
policies,
fucking.
or how readily they would accept video takedown requests. After the soft launch of the series, Gerard decided
with
to expand
fucking,
his catalog
Pro
of videos
Jared.
to YouTube with his own channel that went under That One Video Gamer. He also launched his LLC under a similar name around this time. And so the first episode of The Completionist on YouTube was released in January of 2012.
Yes!
But first, this video is sponsored by War Thunder.
Fascinating.
Video. Gerard knew he needed a gimmick to separate his game review videos from the long-saturated market of game reviewers. The Completionist angle was its own unique draw in that Gerard would focus on the entire game, and larger segments could be devoted to the difficulty or just trivia other videos may miss. But when writing the show, he felt that his comedy was lacking. That's
I
when,
bet it was.
as per the credits, Greg Wilmot, Gerard's friend, came in to fill that role.
It played a little bit differently, but, you know, I wasn't entirely sure.
Wait, what the hell are you doing?
What do you mean?
No, see, I do the reviews, you do the funny.
Ew.
Welcome to my lair. I saw the way you floated through that door, but there's absolutely no way that you can... A lucky shot, but never... Guys!
Gerard and Greg, having built up a hearty catalog of videos on Normal Boots, released videos day after day. These videos were released alongside other videos that fit the trends of the time, like top 10 videos or even just spin-off completionist videos where Greg was the host. Shortly after its launch, the series had already gotten enough notoriety that the developer of Super Meat Boy challenged the completionist to complete his game. And after over 18,000 deaths, Gerard did so in the following episode. That One Video Gamer, with its rapid releases and unique angle, made certain that it had a strong launch. By the end of January, less than a month of its existence, it already jumped up to nearly 4,000 subscribers. But as the pacing of uploads matched the actual production schedule of around one episode a week, the traction slowed and the growth became gradual. By the end of February, they had only gained 1,000 subscribers.
Ooh.
Even so, this proved to Gerard that he had finally found his niche and was quick to embrace it. He could also be found streaming on Twitch, where he both played games and hosted a podcast-style show, and on an additional Let's Play-esque channel known as Super Beard Bros. Week after week of consistent uploads meant that just a year later, Gerard had solidified himself within the game analyst community. He was a social creator who had been collaborating with channels of similar size, like game reviewer Pro Jared, who was also in Normal Boots. Mixed in with these collaborations were newer channels that were also video game adjacent.
Hello, Gerard. Welcome to your bedroom. Matt Pat, it's good to see you.
While Gerard was easily outgrown by his contemporaries, such as Game Theory or JonTron, his consistency, a key to YouTube's success, was what carried his channel's growth. Momentous as this was, Gerard's life in mid-2013...
That's a nice way of saying is all of his partners got much more success and went away. He stuck around because he was a hard worker.
Was taking a turn for the worst.
And I saw this woman go from saying, give me that fork, give me that knife, give me that spoon, to give me that gray, give me that blue, give me that silver, to even give me that thing. I want that thing, to thing, to nothing.
Gerard's mother, 10 years after being diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, had passed away. Gerard and family, bearing witness to her slowly regressing state and to her eventual passing, decided to allow her memory to live on through what would be known as the Open Hand Foundation. This charity is a 501c3, and it would be basically family operated, with the Kilo family working hundreds of hours yearly to quote-unquote evaluate charities to donate to, among other responsibilities. Virtually all the expenses went to the yearly golf charity that the Open Hand Foundation was now sponsoring. Quote, applicant estimates that it will expend approximately $23,000 to cover its expenses for each tournament, resulting in a net profit of approximately $27,000. Unquote. In basic terms, the golf tournament was to happen annually. The proceeds would go to the Open Hand Foundation. The Open Hand Foundation would then distribute the money to whoever they saw fit. Gerard was a director and was in charge of marketing alongside the shared role of evaluating charities to donate to. It was also during this time that the Completionist was seeing a major upswing in traction.
Oh, good
Though
for
there
him.
were no breakout videos, his catalog as a whole was getting increased interest, enough to obtain an office.
Why does it look different in here?
We have an office now. You have a desk.
What are you talking? Holy crap, we have an office!
Unbeknownst to viewers, right as the channel was picking up in momentum, there was a major conflict between Gerard and Greg. The issues were never exactly specified, but there are implications that these conflicts were related to the direction of the show, or at least the background elements that eventually saw their friendship degrade. This came to a head February 2015, right after episode 120 of The Completionist.
It's hard for me to announce that Greg Wilmot will no longer be a part of The Completionist or anything that one video gamer related. Greg, thank you so much, and I'm sure everyone at home appreciates all the hard work that you've done for the past 4 years.
Gerard thanking Greg for his time here while simultaneously being the perpetrator of his departure infuriated Greg. To this, Greg tweeted out, quote, "We are no longer friends. I did not leave willingly. Don't mistake quote-unquote diplomacy for pure fabrication. The loss of friendship has hurt most," unquote. But it did not end there. On Reddit, he gave a significantly long response. Quote, "The truth is, Gerard and I's friendship had been rough for the year prior to the falling out. We had been slowly drifting apart. I like to get my work done quickly and efficiently, then be on my way home. However, I feel I was removed due to our failing friendship and punished by the business I had no protection in. Gerard and I never worked out a contract between each other because we were best friends, and rather naively, I assume we'd take care of each other in the end, as we did so many years prior," unquote. The reactions to this were mostly of support. Though the comedic side of the show was now dead, the audience understanding that Gerard was continuing the show were happy enough with that. All over the internet, in relevant Completionist posts, there are comments stating that Greg leaving the show diminished the quality of it, but also comments stating that they did not like Greg at all. These can be found in the same spaces. Ultimately, the departure of Greg saw far different reactions. Regardless, the fact is, the month that Greg stopped appearing in episodes was the same month that Gerard's viewership stagnated. This is not to say that Gerard was not attempting to improve his content, because by the end of 2015, he had hired a team to help with production, though he was still trying to expand his craft beyond The Completionist. That's where Big Bad Bosses came in, his video game-themed boy band.
Big Bad Bosses!
This led to his most viewed video ever, but nothing else was working. To expand on this, Gerard, seeing how his contemporaries were expanding
what the hell happened
video
here?
games to
Sorry, I had
popular
to step
media
away
to
for a
just even
second.
food, wanted a piece of that pie. MatPat was a great example of this, as he was taking his theme of theory videos and moving them onto film, which brought success overnight. Gerard sought to do the same, but his format was not enticing, nor was it viable. MatPat could play with
It wasn't enticing. That means no one wanted to watch it.
ideas and just research the elements around the related story. He takes a simple concept or happening in a movie and or show and expands on it greatly. But Gerard, carrying his completionist theme onto shows, had to watch all that was available. Being a completionist of a show just boils down to being a regular reviewer. This is to say that Gerard's gimmick could not be expanded beyond games, as it was not interesting, nor was it worth the time investment. This realization that he may be stuck as the completionist worried Gerard.
Oh boy, what is next for the Completionist? Well, I'll tell you what, I don't want to be completing games my entire life, because that just seems a little bit daunting and depressing. I've been working on a lot of big projects that aren't...
I don't want to just be playing games my entire life.
What?
Like someone we know.
Necessarily so focused in the realm of reviewing games. I think that because there are so many reviewers out there, it makes it hard to stand out.
Gerard's goals to expand beyond his game reviews are not just sourced from the fear of pigeonholing himself, as most creators hold this fear that their craft is one note and their talents only exist in a single format. Gerard also has a task of expanding because he still deeply wants to please his father.
I thrive off of doubt. I thrive on people telling me that I can't do something. That really drives me crazy. And my parents every day would tell me, "What are you doing? Go get a real job. Give up on this pipe dream. Go do something else." And I kept telling them, "No!"
Gerard, now in 2017, has built up quite the reputation. Not only is he liked by virtually all content creators in his sphere, companies like Nintendo indirectly endorsed Gerard by allowing him extremely high...
Yeah, I'm sorry, like, I could see, you know, the parents kind of doing everything, but if like, oh my god, is that...
high-level interviews. This
Oh
year,
my God,
he
is that-
simply endorsed Gerard
Hold on.
by allowing him extremely high-level interviews.
Oh my God, that's that guy. It's the guy. No, it's I forget what his name is, but he's the referee from King of Kong. The guy who the referee, the one who kept defending Billy Mitchell all those years. I don't remember what his name is, but that's him. That's so fantastic. There's a connection with Gerard and Billy Mitchell. They're related now.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
God, that's fantastic. But like, just get back to my original point. I mean, like, come on. I would be like, I got to interview the president of Nintendo. Like, I'm sorry, you think that's still a bullshit job? Like, what's the matter with you? His dad sounds like a fucking miserable prick of a human being.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
And apparently, you know, what is it? Shit flows downhill.
This year, his views were picking up a bit, but then there was also this massive change. Greg had to come back. Not to the show, but to request all videos that included him, which was pretty much every Completionist episode up to 120, be removed.
I am damned if I do remove these videos, possibly legally damned if I don't. So, it's with a heavy heart that I announce that I am going to be removing all 120 episodes of The Completionist.
Gerard allowed a month for viewers to archive videos before removing them. Whatever goodwill Greg had with the Completionist community was drained via this request. And as much as this hurt Gerard's channel...
My God. Like, okay, now who's really to... they must have... I'm sorry, Gerard must have done something behind the scenes to really piss him off. Either that guy is a complete prick, or one of these guys has to be a complete prick. And my money's on Gerard. I think he did something that just pissed him off so much, or just got so tired of the shit. Like, to throw that gauntlet down, like, that's incredible.
It also opened up the new opportunity to re-review the games he already played in his Completionist series, now as New Game Plus. It was possibly this, alongside continued traction, that reinvigorated his channel and bumped his viewership from hovering around 3 million a month to around 4 million a month. Also in 2017, Gerard's story on Story Collider aired. The topic was on his mother and FTD.
Usually, someone who's diagnosed with FTD lasts about 6.5 months. Mostly due to malnutrition, just not getting enough food, not eating enough, not being present in the moment.
Though Gerard was on a platform that emphasizes science and storytelling, Gerard was only focused on the latter. The average life expectancy, as seen on the AFTD website, is 7 to 13 years. It is practically universally understood that the life expectancy for those that have FTD is several years, and the leading cause of death is not malnutrition, though that does play a part. Still, it is nearly unanimous that the average life expectancy is around 7 years, and the leading cause of death is pneumonia. It is clear that either Gerard got his facts severely wrong, or he is lying on the spot to make himself look good.
My mom was a strong as hell woman, and she went down fighting every single step of the way. And more importantly,
so did mine.
She is the longest lasting survivor to date with someone who's been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. They gave her 6 months.
No, my mom
She said,
wasn't
screw you,
that.
I'm going to live 15 years.
She survived for a while.
Also a strong claim, considering that multiple sources
well over a
state that
decade.
people have lived up to 20 years with the disease. There is something fundamentally wrong with Gerard. The silver lining is that these statements here don't really affect anything. This story reached a limited audience, so Gerard's lies were hardly impactful. Though it does put into question why he was chosen as a director of the Open Hand Foundation while not being up to date with the facts around FTD. This spelled trouble when he further invested into the charity through his own fundraising campaign.
I want to do a big charity stream, and it is called Indieland. Yeah, it's called Indieland. This is a charity stream designed about indie games, for indie games, promoting indie games, but more importantly, why we love games.
While it was clear that Gerard was incompetent, at the very least, this event was beneficial for all parties. Though the goal was set at raising $25,000, Indieland raised much more than that.
Our final amount for Indieland, all the money tallied and everything together, was $55,102.
Celebrity Jamie Lee Curtis even got herself involved, as her daughter was an employee of Gerard's. Everything was looking well for the Completionist and its ventures.
I don't want to say this is the year of the Completionist, because it's like a weird thing to say. Hashtag rip year of Luigi.
We all know what the
but
year of
this
the downfall
year has been our
is.
most successful year. It's just nonstop. We're gonna hit 1 million subscribers in a couple of weeks, and that's something special.
A unique boon that continued to aid the Completionist was his clean reputation. This was absolutely necessary when it came to his most viewed videos, which were oftentimes Nintendo games. His top 2 non-music videos are on Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey and boast 4.2 million and 2.7 million views respectively. While it is not irregular for coverage of Nintendo games to perform well on YouTube, it is uncommon for Nintendo to work with creators. A benefit of this was that Gerard was able to receive games like Super Mario Odyssey early, and being that his gimmick is not so much reviewing the game, but achieving full completion, though the definition of completion can vary from game to game. This is to say that Gerard needs much more time than the average creator to release his video. The window of interest tends to close the further the video releases from the game's release date. And while it is somewhat common for review copies to be given out, Gerard's privilege extends beyond that realm. Like for a few other creators, there was a master trainer named after him in a Pokemon game.
Yeah, my mom ran out
Gerard was also being directly sponsored by Nintendo.
This video is sponsored and approved
Christ,
by Nintendo.
This felt necessary.
Dad, Nintendo is fucking sponsoring me. Like, I grew up, you know, I'm sure my parents still regret that they ever bought me a Nintendo. But like, if I were able to turn around and say, hey, Dad, the company that you hated is now paying me fucking money to do shit, like, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, you know, wait, you're winning, son. God. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. My mom got to the point where just nothing worked anymore. She went through every single viable medication thing, and then when we took her off, she just went completely downhill.
For Gerard's growing company that was looking to expand into the creator space by offering services to creators like managing the merchandise sales. All of these aspects were reliant on Gerard's glowing reputation. That's why in 2019, when Pro Jared was going through a scandal involving heavy accusations that at the time were not challenged, Gerard, seeing as he collaborated with Jared in the past, made a tweet stating he did not condone Jared's actions and donated a combined total of $15,000 to 3 charities. Also attached were the receipts received from each individual charity. If he donated this much in response to a friend's scandal, how much would he theoretically donate in response to his own scandal? Luckily, Gerard's reputation was so solid that this question could practically only ever be asked in theory. In 2019, Gerard was proud to, quote, report that Indieland 2019's preliminary total earnings are $109,418.
God, $109,000.
Unquote. With now 19 employees allegedly working under the Completionist company that won Video Entertainment, it was now more important than ever to continue this momentum. But 2020 YouTube had other plans.
At the beginning of this year in January, something changed on the YouTube front. YouTube algorithms. Surprise, surprise, right? Something changed. And my channel
everything went wrong on
from
YouTube.
Performing as it normally does to not performing as it normally does.
What Gerard is complaining about in this video was a dip in views starting January 2020. Except that is false. Looking back at his Social Blade for the month of January 2020 shows that his channel did not only perform well, it also performed virtually the best it had ever per month at 6.4 million views.
Oh, what?
Looking through a Social Blade also shows that the single month that had only ever performed better was January of 2019. February 2020, however, does show a massive dip in views of nearly half, but that is only compared to January. When looking back, hovering around 4 million is highly common for his channel. This is not the only time Gerard talks about this dip. There was also this panel at PAX East 2020 where he believes he knows what caused it.
We're going to go ahead and scale back into 6 videos a month, and then when we do a 7th or 8th video, it's going to be a different video that has a different vibe to it, that is a lot more premium, that feels like the Completionist, but with a twist. In me doing that, it's been 2 months. My channel has dropped 45% in views. And all I did was, and I just didn't post 2 videos.
Why is he talking about this here?
What Gerard is pinning the blame on here is where he would typically upload 8 videos, he was uploading less than that to focus on quality and experimentation. The facts are that he uploaded 7 videos in January, except in this case, as shown, this month was his second best performing month despite missing 1 upload. But what about February? This month, the month that had shown the dip, which was not a dip because it was still in the same range of Gerard's typical views, had also the typical 8 videos. Gerard is either lying or is woefully unaware of his upload schedule. Perhaps he was thrown off by the 8th video uploaded on the 29th of February because it was a leap year. What
Not
this all
both.
means is that Gerard effectively uploaded a 24-minute video complaining about nothing. This also includes his complaints about the Persona 5 episode. According to How Long to Beat, the average completionist time of Persona 5, meaning all the trophies, would take approximately 173 hours. Gerard wanted to go above and beyond by collecting all the love interest gifts. The issue with this was that you can only get 1 love interest gift per run. With there being 10 unique love interests and an additional cutscene where you romance all 10 at the same time, that amounts to beating a rather large game 10 times.
I guess the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I don't want to do it anymore. I do not want to play this game anymore.
Though he claims he started playing it since it was released and was further challenged to complete it after Indieland raised $100,000 in 2019, after 500 hours of gameplay, Gerard could not persist.
I do not want to play this game anymore.
So he issued a poll to his viewers asking what completion meant for this game. 91% stated that just getting all trophies is fine, which is what Gerard settled on when he released the video in May of 2020. This single video is bursting with issues surrounding time management, business sense, and fact-checking. To start, point 1 and 3 can be bundled into one major issue, which is time to beat a run. This is more or less correct, if only considering the first fresh run.
Average playthrough of Persona 5 is over 85 hours, with my very first one tracking on hard mode taking me 110 hours.
But with New Game Plus, if run on easy and skipping dialogue as Gerard said he was doing, it should, according to multiple different accounts, take 30 to 40 hours. With Gerard's initial run of 110 hours, it should have taken Gerard around those 500 hours to beat the game as he wanted. If we're being generous with numbers and assuming that Gerard is absolutely inefficient with his additional playthroughs and truly takes 85 hours per run, that would be around 1,000 hours. Yet he overshoots this with a number he could have only made up.
And I was starting to realize this episode would never get made, and I'd have to spend well over 1,200 hours to do this stupid task
1,200
that I gave
hours.
myself.
While these are all minute, rather unimportant lies, it does demonstrate once more that Gerard is a liar. And not only that, he has terrible business sense. Why even embark on such a large project
These
with
legit
such an
sound like
absurd
DSP
self-placed
complaints.
challenge for a video that only got 1.3 million views? That places it at the 30th most viewed video, yet was a video that took arguably the longest to make. As for the rest of the year, Gerard continued his Indieland charity and his viewership remained the same. January 2021, following the pattern of previous years, was where he peaked in overall monthly viewership, this time at 7.5 million views. A top 10 video about the top 10 worst achievements was responsible for this peak.
I was just about to say it was probably a top 10
of
video.
a low-effort, high-performing video that does not sacrifice quality. It still has Gerard's personality that directly relates to the subject matter of the video. However, after this month, his viewership would see a true decline. Never again would he see beyond 5 million views. And after February, that was 4 million. Gerard continued to look elsewhere for whatever could build his empire.
And I think the next step for us is my ultimate goal is I want to get into the video game industry, gearing the company, using the Completionist brand to get people excited for games and to help indie developers who otherwise don't have an audience, just give them a place to grow. That's a big reason why Indieland's been so successful, is because we're taking indie developers who are usually these 1 to 8 people teams that have no funding.
Gerard at this time was experiencing difficulties all around. Newly added, or rather appropriately diagnosed as he has had it since birth, was a syndrome that was reeling back with issues.
After 33 years of being diagnosed with spinal hemangioma, I was actually diagnosed with something called Blue Rubber Bleb-Nevis syndrome. Blue Rubber Bleb-Nevis syndrome is a rare disorder that consists mainly of abnormal blood vessels affecting the skin or internal organs, usually the gastrointestinal tract. The disease is characterized by the presence of fluid-filled blisters, blebs, as visible circumscribed chronic lesions, nevis.
Gerard would need surgeries to quell these symptoms. While he had more than a fighting chance, the newest thing that he was involved in could at best be described as
He even
hopeless.
has a medical,
Comcast was
even has a quote disability, just like fucking DSP does. This is getting cutting a little too close to home.
the rising gaming content sphere and reduced that G4, an old defunct network famously focused on gaming before there was any competition, could compete in this industry today. The way they were going about this was greenlighting several shows that made G4 popular, such as X-Play and Attack of the Show. These would be hosted on YouTube and would sometimes be found live on Twitch. The only value this holds today would be in the original host to see where they are now, which they did, and it performed decently. But relaunching it as it was would be virtually impossible, as it would have to compete with long-established content creators with teams of just a few people that have cut into their niche audiences that also know how to prioritize profits versus production costs. G4, on the other hand, had its own studio, it was paying for the hosts that were willing to come back, and though reluctant, brought on Gerard. G4 was also utilizing their dead channels with dead subscribers, and so Gerard's reveal trailer got a measly 36,000 views. Gus Johnson, another popular creator that was also part of the G4 team, was getting tens of thousands of views, where his main channel was getting anywhere from 1 million to 5 million views. Gerard's own G4 produced show, God of Work, where he plays a video game character set in an office space, was performing even worse. This is considering the amount of money that went into the production crew and the various actors and props involved. Even with Comcast's high-end slate of advertisers, this was a catastrophic failure brought on by the ignorance of a TV network that's traditional knowledge could not be translated into the online realm. Weekly, the budgets for the show would increase and decrease. There was no consistency in the studio, and changes in strategy of how to garner attention would happen on the fly. The max amount of viewers that the G4 stream got on Twitch was 64,000. In terms of television ratings, this is abhorrent, so its average viewership of 2,000 was a complete and utter failure. It did not help that the only way this content was reaching a larger audience was through controversial clips.
But maybe later we'll get to talk about Crypto Beefcakes, which is a project that you tie an NFT to a Discord account, and then if you're a positive influence in a community, it actually inflates the value of your NFT. So heaven forbid we have avatars and communities that encourage people to be kind and supportive to increase the value of something. But apparently, that's the thing that gets me canceled today, is caring about a new technology and community. Well, you're all welcome. That's my time on this one. Yeah, it's okay to hate. I'm gonna sleep fine tonight.
To put things in perspective, these few comments did not affect the end result. G4's relaunch was doomed to fail. What it did do was give many channels ample opportunity to pick out these moments as the reason why G4 failed. The most common clip by far involved Frosk, a caster seen in gaming competitions who was known to stir up controversy and contempt in the communities he was involved in. Gerard, pushing for a female lead for X-Play, was seeking out an Olivia Munn or Morgan Webb, but what the producers decided on was Frosk. Gerard details that they did not have time to chemistry test or see how all the hosts for X-Play interacted, so the hosts were unaware of how they would present certain topics or how to interact with each other on camera like friends would. There was also a looming annoyance of the comments that were flowing in, some stating that Gerard ate Morgan Webb and other derogatory comments that are normal and expected in the online space. But the hosts, like Frosk, typically having a line of separation and now having to deal with an active chat, took it upon herself to voice her frustration in an extremely poor fashion.
Every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us. I can see you. Without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous hosts. It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frost!
And that's just obvious.
Oh, look at Gerard.
Sexism. You don't need to explicitly objectify women or declare that you hate women to be sexist. Just go ahead and check out Thorne's latest meltdown on Twitter for some spark notes.
Frosk's near 3-minute-long rant was condescending, aggressive, and overly generalizing by addressing the entire audience for the actions of few. And those that made those comments no doubt got what they wanted, which was a reaction. This discourse, while not entirely against Frosk, was not very beneficial for G4. It shrouded them in controversy, though that still mattered very little because they stayed on their course of failure. They lasted about 1 year as their closure was announced on October 16th, 2022. Not only was this how the internet at large found out, it was also how Gerard and the remaining G4 team found out that they had lost their jobs. This news came shortly after the Completionist's second worst performing month in the past couple of years. 2022 also had the worst performing month where views for his channel dipped under 1 million. This was quickly turning around to be the worst year for the Completionist and his company so far. 2023 was truly a different beast in terms of what it did to Gerard.
It really felt so personal, and at that
Yeah,
same
welcome,
time
Aaron.
that G4 exploded, I lost several sponsors. I was making that eShop video, and I was like, people wouldn't touch me because of the controversy at the
happened around
time.
that time.
I had 2 employees quit / I had to fire one, not because I wanted to fire. I made it a goal as a business owner to never fire an employee. That was my number one promise to myself. I would never fire or get rid of an employee for any reason. And I was looking at my finances and going, oh, I don't have enough money.
Well, that's a
to
well. Also,
do
that's
this.
a stupid.
I think we could in this situation
pledge to
say let
have.
go.
Right.
I don't think you fired anyone.
Let go.
You had
Right.
to let go.
Let
of
go.
someone.
If what Gerard states is true, his finances are now very tight. Whatever side projects he had were apparently not enough to pick up the loss of ad revenue. Though Gerard was still endlessly experimenting with videos to no avail, he decided on a different type of video that was extremely risky when considering his company's financial state. With the announcement of the closure of the Wii U and 3DS eShop, Gerard and his employees brainstormed a new Mr. Beast-inspired idea where over the course of several months, their team would
Actually
buy
saw
every
this.
single available game on the eShops for these consoles before the closure. While there were a few games they were not able to obtain due to those games pulling out early, they certainly downloaded the majority of them, costing them a total of $22,971. It is unknown how much this exactly cost in man-hours or other expenses related to the multi-month long production of this video. Within the video, there were also themes of preservation and that the consoles will be donated to the Video Game History Foundation. While it is committed to them, they were not taking it in likely as in its current state, due to copyright law, there would be little utility. There was also some controversy about how the Video Game History Foundation operates in relation to Gerard, but the bigger issue at hand was the cost of the video itself. Gerard, over the course of several months, was able to finance this through sponsorships.
Today's video is brought to you by our sponsor. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by today's sponsor. Thank you and shout out to our sponsor.
But these sponsors were likely regular sponsors, not doing it directly to finance the eShop video. So $22,000 was spent on a video that currently sits at 1.4 million views. This means that it performed marginally better than its Persona video.
I thought it was just only
This was a
1.4
massive loss
million.
that was likely not profitable. At this point,
I mean, I get it. For him, that's low, but like, I mean, Christ, my best video hasn't even broken 500,000. It probably will eventually, but you know, just when you have over 1 million views and it's still seen as something bad, I just can't help but just shake my head.
virtually everything was working against Gerard. Sponsors did not come easy. Nintendo was not even giving him review copies. His views kept on dipping, and though he continued to experiment, these videos were performing so poorly that they were hurting his channel. Gerard was not doing well.
You know, it's going to sound weird. Like, I have 5 therapists. I genuinely have 5 therapists. Each one.
I have one.
Well, each one's for something different, right? I suffer from codependency in my never-ending ability to please people, to try and please my father and the legacy that he's built for us kids. I have a couples therapy for me and my partner. I have my own personal therapist. I have a business therapist to help with consulting.
exists. We could use that.
And the last therapist is just kind of like an overall therapist that interacts with all the other ones to really track my progress and go through it.
Gerard's insecurities, his
5 fucking therapists. Okay, real talk, I got 2. One deals with medication and one doesn't. Like, that's just insane. Like, what kind... I'm sorry, his father looks like one of the biggest fucking cunts on, like, God's green earth. That's the only... I mean, what other possible explanation could you have for that? That is, you know... and I'm sure losing the mother didn't help, but like, god damn, like at that point, you know, you gotta look in the mirror there, buddy.
Want to please his father.
It's like a fucking. It looks like Danny Aiello's stunt double, or not Dan. Like, he just doesn't he look. He would be like, you know, it's like a bit role in some mafia movie. He has like that.
His
look.
biggest weaknesses were gripping him harder now that his company and career he had built up over the past 10 years were all failing. As much as he reflects on the fall of G4 and the backlash it got, this was truly nothing in terms of scale for this upcoming scandal that he would be the center of. Everything over the past 10 years would be dredged up, and a reimagining of his character that was so conflicting, no one wanted to believe it was true. This is how a charity exposed a fraud.
And I just know because of my track record of things like G4 exploding.
I wonder if my video will
me
show
being
up.
Friends with John Tron when he was a racist. you know, I've been a part of, like, you know, pro Jared, like pulling one thread about
Well,
the
not this
charity thing
part,
is going
but, like...
to upheave my entire life in a way that scares the living crap out of me.
It is November of 2023. Carl Jobst, a content creator who typically covers video game speedrunners and their falsified runs, received an anonymous tip. This person alleges that the Open Hand Foundation, the charity run by the Khalil family that Gerard raises money for every year, has not donated a single cent. This is a very bold accusation, especially since Gerard has stated in the past exactly how the money is being used.
We are raising money for dementia research and treatment, more specifically helping families and those loved ones who've been affected by early onset dementia and who are learning how their lives are going to be changing forever. Raising money for...
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Nintendo
research.
fan either.
We're trying to help those who are affected by
Their business practices, I mean.
all types of dementia,
and their
beyond. Specifically
constant
people who,
campaign against game
families who
preservation.
just found out that a loved one has dementia. Essentially, we're raising money for dementia research and prevention, specifically for people, for families rather, who just found out that a loved one of theirs has been affected by dementia.
Gerard stated 3 different areas the money was going towards. It was going to research, preservation, to those affected. Gerard also took the bold leap of stating exactly where the money was going.
Currently working with the University of San Francisco, and we're kind of one of their main funding support partners going into all of this.
Main funding partner, support partner. This is a very strong statement. Luckily, charities like Gerard's need to file what is called a 990-PF. These files are made publicly available and can be found on the IRS website. Better yet, they can also be found through ProPublica, which gets the documents on there faster. It is here that you can find the most recent 990-PF from 2022. ProPublica also has a very user-friendly interface that charts revenue, expenses,
Are you fucking doing an ad for them?
Immediately, it is apparent that the revenue is matching the total assets, and the total assets keep rising, which means none of the money has been donated. But then again, third-party website-generated charts are not always the most reliable. Checking the actual 990-PFs show that for 2022, the gross revenue was $170,000. The net was $106,000. This was added to the pile, which at the end of the year was, quote, cash non-interest bearing $655,520, unquote. Looking further down, the foundation truly did not donate a single cent. It was just sitting there. To make matters worse, it was not even being invested. This means on top of the money not being donated, it was actually losing value over the years as it was sitting in a bank account not moving. In disbelief, Carl Jobst emailed the Open Hand Foundation. What he got back was an email from Jacques Khalil, a board member and brother of Gerard. Here he stated that, quote, we have been evaluating potential beneficiaries who align with our vision, entities that could use our funds efficiently and effectively without a substantial portion being diverted to administrative expenses, unquote. So it is again confirmed that the Open Hand Foundation, since its establishment in 2014, has not made a donation. Jock also details that they donated body parts, alluding to donating their mother's body to help with research. And likely through the PBD West golf tournament, they donated money before they were an official charity. Though insufficient progress was being made, so they were deciding to vet charities, hence the lack of a donation. Closing the response was 2 ill-conceived notions. Firstly was that Jock was stating that there are no irregularities or misuse of funds because the Department of Justice would intervene and that their financial activities are quote-unquote transparent. This is true to an extent. While the expenses are listed on the 990-PFs, they are not itemized and or described very poorly and inconsistently. For example,
I saw
in the
Game
2022
Passes going up.
filings, the
Yay.
major 2 expenses are golf fundraiser expenses and fundraising. What does fundraising allude to? Is that Indieland or is that a separate event? What about the 2021 filings? Well, these are even less clear, as even though more was spent in expenses this year, there are only 2 categories, dues and subscriptions and the blanket expenses. And in 2020, the expenses are only described as expenses. To the original point, this is not highly transparent, nor does being a 501c3 make one immune to deception or mismanagement. The second notion that closed the email was Jock asking Carl if he knew of any good charities the foundation could donate to. This is a rather strange question, especially considering that the foundation documents demonstrate that every member of the board was responsible for seeking a charity to donate to. And to ask Carl Jobst is to insinuate that though they should have conducted hours upon hours of research, they could have somehow missed a charity for their very specific cause. This response only brought on more questions. Primarily, Carl asked about Gerard's statements that they were partnered with the UCSF, when in fact the Open Hand Foundation had still not donated anything, and on the Open Hand's website they were listed as a benefactor. The following email that Carl received was one of a far different tone. No, dear Carl, and no warm regards. The email opens with, quote, UCSF is acknowledged on our website as part of our historical contributions, unquote. This is misleading. Unmarked donations from the Khalil family are not the same as the official Open Hand Foundation charity, which has still not donated anything. Furthermore, Jock, representing the Open Hand Foundation, doubles down aggressively by stating, quote, the insinuation of wrongdoing on the part of the Open Hand Foundation is both unwarranted and unfounded. We conduct our operations within the bounds of legal and ethical standards, and any implication to the contrary is baseless.
I'd be like,
unquote.
bro, fucking
Understanding
what?
how misleading the Open Hand Foundation is, Jock closes the email, cutting communication. Quote, we consider the information provided in our statement as comprehensive and do not intend to issue further public comments on these matters, unquote. With it clear that the Open Hand Foundation was attempting to hide, Carl Jobs wanted to break this story, but he wanted to make sure it had a fair number of eyes on it. This is where some ordinary gamers, or Mutahar, comes in. Carl calls him up late at night, providing everything he's found out.
Isn't it MUTA?
Mutahar, unsure about the story, considering Gerard's superb reputation, propositions the idea to call Gerard through Discord and ask him about it.
So the timeline for it is like 2 p.m. I'm like, hey, Gerard, the completionist, are you ready for a call? He's like, yeah, give me a few hours. So we give him a few hours. In my head, I'm like, he's probably talking to a lawyer. He's not going to take this call. It's a lost cause. But surprise, Allah intervented. He was like, he's going to take the fucking call.
Did anyone tell you?
You were notified that the money was sitting there the whole time?
I knew it was sitting there at a certain point, and that's what made me proactively go about it. Like,
do you know when that point was?
I was made aware in 2021 when the money hadn't moved yet, and that's what made me go, that's not fucking cool, and that's when I got personally involved to move it. And
did anyone?
2021 last year, 2022.
There are two takeaways from the start of the call. Gerard found out that the money.
God,
had
this
not
is
been
the
moved in
longest part of the
2022.
video. It's almost half the
This is
video.
despite him being on the board and him running an event for the foundation. This is already negligent on his part.
So the goal
over
on
half
the back
hour.
end for my family that I've been told is like, we're just going to raise a bunch of money and then give it to one org and like make a bigger impact rather than just giving smaller donations that don't move the needle.
I mean, as of this week, we've been having conversations about moving it as early as today or tomorrow, just because the pressure I got from you guys, if I'm being quite honest.
To break this down, what Gerard is alluding to is that his family wanted to make a restricted donation. Restricted donations are donations that go to fund something very specific within an organization. They are restricted to being used in whatever way the donor specifies. There are multiple issues with this statement, as the Open Hand Foundation has not, nor Gerard, ever mentioned a restricted donation. Many donations can be restricted in small amounts. There is no need to stockpile money. And only now is the Open Hand Foundation going forward with a donation because of the pressure Carl Jobs and Mutahar were applying. If this was the goal all along, then why would the discovery of it influence it? As much as this call revealed how unaligned the foundation was, it also revealed more of the dynamic Gerard had with his family.
The last thing I want to do is ruin the legacy of my family, of my mom and her memory, especially because this is such a personal thing for the last 25 years of my life. You know, I'm not trying to be like, do you guys want money to help me hide this? It's not what this is at all.
As far as off the record stuff is, I'm going to obviously keep, any mention of you and, your disagreements with your dad really out of it, because I know that's a very private, personal matter.
There is a deep conflict between Gerard and his family. There has always been this conflict. But being that whatever was being discussed is off the record and not in the publicly available recording of the call, it is not clear what this conflict was beyond wanting to donate the money sooner. Although throughout the years, Gerard has shown to be both fearful and approval-seeking of his father.
I am trying to complete something in my life. I am trying to fill a hole that's pretty large. A lot of that hole is...
If I found out that my kids had like a hole in their heart because they felt like I didn't love them or they couldn't earn my affection, I'd want to just jump off of a cliff. That would mean I failed so miserably as a parent. When I get the feeling that as a grifter, I mean, clearly it's a sick relationship, whatever it is that they have. Neglect. I mean, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if there's abuse. I mean, I'm not about to cast aspersions, But like, if you knowing what that guy looks like and all these stories we're hearing, would any of us would any of us have to sit down, finding out like, oh, there's a history of abuse, of physical abuse with Gerard's father? No, of course not.
Is my family and specifically the word legacy. So I have a one-man show called The Completionist Legacy, and the show is about my relationship with my father and how I am his living legacy, and that whether I like it or not, I am chasing this dragon that is to make him proud of me.
And to give you an idea, my dad would see me perform. I'd be like the lead of a play. I'd be the villain. Greasy beard, combat scene, and we're fighting, and I die. And you just hear my dad go, where did he learn this? Oh, he's so bad. He's so bad. All of my teachers were like, this is why he needs to be an engineer.
I want to have built something that's going to be a legacy. I want to build something that will always remind people of the completionist, but won't necessarily be that.
When family says you jump, you jump. That's just something I've had to deal with, as you can tell with my insane lifestyle at this point.
What would become more and more apparent is Gerard finds that there is a mishandling of the Open Hand Foundation, but he always weighs his family above his morals. He always weighs his image above his morals. This insecurity of seeking approval from both his audience and family is his undoing. That and sections of the call would be construed as manipulation.
I'm just asking from a humanity perspective of like, if I am the target of this, I have 20 mouths to feed. I have sponsors. I have a business. I'm trying to make video games. I'm trying to get out of content creation so I don't have to worry about YouTube anymore and do better things in the world.
Yeah, I hear
and I
that.
just know because of my
Not that I'm saying I'm trying to do
things
such a
like
thing.
G4 exploding,
Actually trying to
me
reconnect
being
more
friends
with
with John
people.
Tron when he was a racist. I've been a part of pro Jared, and I don't want to go home tonight and tell everyone, hey, there is a gigantic thing coming to claim my career, and you all have to close down and find somewhere else to do. I know this is shitty me to say this. I'm not trying to ask for sympathy or anything, but this kind of stuff, I mean, I've been following your guys' stuff for years. The stuff with Billy Mitchell, Carl, the stuff that you've done, Muto, with tons of content creators over the years. Like, there's no nuance to this. People are going to see this, and they're going to immediately go, that Gerard guy who's been nice to a bunch of people actually isn't very nice overall. Fuck him. Even if I survive this somehow, even if this is like, people are like, well, whatever.
Jesus
that's how
Christ.
it is. It's going to take the passion out of what I do. People aren't going to trust me ever again. I'm not going to trust
if my
myself
kids ever
ever
did
again.
that, I would
and I'm
just.
just going to walk away from all this. Like, this is.
I don't
like
think
me
there'd be
being
any
like,
way I
great,
could ever
so
view myself
I'm
as
out.
anything less than a failure.
Not just of content creation or being an online personality. I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna disappear and start over and never talk to anyone ever again.
Gerard disconnected halfway through the call. This is what Mudhar says before he's back.
I'll just say right now, there was definitely there was a lot of guilt tripping throughout that entire video.
Yes.
Or throughout that entire call. We absolutely have to cover this just for the fact that this is an actual piece of fraud. Like, this is legitimate fraud.
When Gerard reconnects, after levying his woes on Carl and Mudhar, he plays his hand and asks,
I take it that you guys are dead set on making pieces about this?
I mean, I'm definitely covering.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. I guess that's all she wrote.
This was all happening behind the scenes. On November 12th, Gerard, aware of the coming storm, streamed, keenly aware of what was coming.
If you guys ever wonder what I look like after I get destroyed by the internet for anything, I just do this as best I can. No, I just mean like if something bad happens and I'm like feeling sad.
The following day, Mudhar and Carl Jobst released their videos.
Their website clearly states they support the UCSF, and they have a quote from David Kessler, the Dean of the UCSF School of Medicine, thanking them for their gift. But the interesting thing about David Kessler is that he was fired as the Dean of the UCSF School of Medicine in 2007, 7 years before OpenHand was even officially registered. If they have been looking for a beneficiary since 2014, why has Gerard been claiming they support organizations across the world, including the UCSF and the Alzheimer's Association?
We are raising money for dementia research in honor of my late mom, trying to help folks who've been impacted by dementia, working with organizations like USF, FTD Association of America, Alzheimer's Association of America, and so many more.
Why is he claiming the money is actually given to people who know how to use it? Now that they brought it up, if the filings do show an accurate account of what happened, I do think this is illegal and would be considered charity fraud. Generally, taking money by dishonest means is considered fraud. You just can't tell people to give you money under a false pretense. And you can't wait 10 years until you're caught before doing something with it either.
Thank you.
In this case, Openhand lied for many years saying that it was funding organizations. It wasn't. Even if all of the money is still there, the actions of Openhand were unethical and almost certainly illegal. And as unfortunate as this situation is, it does need to be called out, and there do need to be repercussions.
Carl Chop's video also goes over some of the call, the emails he received from Jock, and incorrectly states that the 990PFs were not signed, which he later corrected. Though what the rest of the video presented was accurate, the reaction to it was initially somewhat negative. Friends of the Completionist awaited his response, but a few were egregiously misreporting what was in the video. Pro Jared lying by stating that, quote, "This is horseshit. They're both making a lot of assumptions and accusations without being able to actually prove anything. Almost like they're presenting the
Not the
worst
first time
and
you put
trying
your
to get
fucking
news
foot
off
in your
of it.
mouth.
They didn't bother trying to reach out to Gerard about it. No due diligence." Unquote. The irony was that it was apparent that both Carl and Mutahar called Gerard, and Jared would have known this if he took 10 minutes to watch the video. Mutahar addressed this and other unfounded criticism in his follow-up video 7 days later. Eventually, many creators were reacting to the ongoing events, coming to the same conclusions that there was something wrong going on. As the internet continued to wait for a response from Gerard, the most they received from Gerard was him stating that he was holding on as best he can.
Oh, good for
reacting
him.
to the continued coverage of the story as it was coming out, stating that there will be a statement soon, but this could not come soon enough. Patience had worn thin. The most anyone was receiving from Gerard by late November was his continued statements on how he was doing. And then
Where's he
on
getting these
30th,
Discord
Carl
shots
released
from?
his
Who's
video
archiving
going
this?
over a newly discovered alarming inconsistency.
And so we just every year we try and raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with, Alzheimer's Association of America.
Oh, I wonder
University
if
of San
my
Francisco,
LWA footage will make it in
Association
here.
for FTD, which is what my mom had, FTD. So we've worked with big and small organizations across the board.
It was now clear Gerard, when talking about the Open Hand Foundation in 2023, knowing that the money was not being donated, was bold-faced lying to his audience and friends on multiple occasions. Well, that was not the discovery that shocked the internet.
Indieland isn't the only charity event that Openhand runs. In fact, it's only half of the story. Openhand also holds a charity golf tournament, which pulls in tens of thousands of dollars in sponsorships every year. And the interesting thing about the money the golf tournament raises is that it seems to disappear. The main way the PBD West Convenience Cup Challenge appears to raise money is via sponsorships. Brands will pay the Openhand Foundation to appear on banners and signs throughout the golf course, along with having the opportunity to set up tents and stands and have their employees play in the tournament. The PBD West Cup even tells us what these sponsorships cost,
not sure
showing that
yet,
different tiers give
Aaron.
different benefits.
The crux of this is that the
The,
revenue of the Open Hand Foundation kept
I'm still
increasing.
I'm
The
kind of
amount
retooling the
Indieland was
LWA a bit.
earning was the lion's share of the 990
I need to
revenue.
migrate over to
More and
2K24
more, when
finally.
subtracting the amount Indieland earned, the golf
Not gonna be
tournament,
doing the
which was
weekly
growing
ones
in years
anymore,
prior to
but
the
that's why I might be
introduction
doing
of
them
Indieland,
like
was now seemingly decreasing.
twice a month instead of
By
like
using
every
the
week.
images of the
but-
yearly golf tournament, taking into account the posted
Yeah,
costs of
it's still
sponsorships
kicking.
and the participants via
I know
images of the
I've-
event, the revenue on the filings was not matching up with how much should have been earned.
In the 2019 filing, Openhand only raised $123,000, which means that somehow the Golf Cup now only raised $14,000.
But I'll get back to,
Every
like,
single year, the
uploading the
Syzygy
matches and
Foundation,
stuff
the
again.
charity
I know
founded
I've
by
been bad
Jamie
with
Lee
that.
Curtis, gives a grant to Openhand. In 2021, they gave them $25,000. If you add these together, you get around $136,000. But shockingly, for the entire year of 2021, Openhand only received $136,000, which means again, the Golf Cup hardly raised anything at all.
Mutahar also did a lengthier breakdown of the subject. When given even generous earnings or the lack thereof, the numbers were still not adding up.
When you add in the grant, the Tiltify, you have maybe a few $1,000s.
Well,
at
maybe
best,
like
15 grand
yeah,
that
close to
one year to
monthly,
play around
but
with.
I need to do like probably at least 2 cards every month, just because or else it's harder to build.
You're always
because so much can change in a month.
That revenue.
Kind of have like the one stream to then set up the monthly bigger
is
event.
Bad. Where is the money? Why isn't all of it seemingly being reported? That's a question that I now have to ask.
While both Mutahar and Carl were wanting a third-party investigation, what was wanted for most was an explanation. The filings only show the revenue, but not the sources. It is not itemized. The same goes for the expenses that are widely undescriptive and inconsistent with their
Okay, we're in the home
descriptions
stretch
year
here,
after year.
folks.
And on the back end was the fear that the family was pocketing the money. There was a possibility that the money reported was not even there, that it was stolen. This was quelled when the AFTD, or the Association for Frontotemporal Degradation, announced they received $600,000 from the Open Hand Foundation in December. Maybe they rounded down and did not include the $55,000 that was reported in the 2020 990 PFs that were still not up to date, meaning that they did not report on the 2023 golf tournament and Indieland. But perhaps this was to be donated at a later date for some tax or expense reason. What this did not resolve was the loss of value from the money just sitting stagnantly in a bank account. In this way, the donation is still less than what it could have been. Additionally, when Pro Jared was going through his own controversy, Gerard donated $15,000 on a whim when he was truly not involved at all. It is also possible that Gerard's company is dry, that it has lost so much money from its projects in 2023 that Gerard could not donate additional money if he wanted to. There was so much speculation that was meant to be silenced by a response, which finally came December 9th, 2023.
Here we go.
To set the record straight, I want to make it 100% clear. At no point in the Foundation's history was there any criminal or financial fraud. None. A lot of folks have been saying that if I didn't do anything wrong, that I should have said something sooner, or that my conversation with the accusers was considered my full side of the story. But when there is allegation after allegation being made, it takes a long time to gather the evidence and facts to refute claims. This will be my only video response on this matter.
Though Gerard positions the delay of this video as a necessary requirement for its fact-finding, his video containing virtually no receipts, itemized breakdowns of the filings, nor clarification for his own lies
Yeah,
shows
his response
how
was
incompetent
so
and
fucking
ignorant
bad.
he is. Though Gerard does make it quite explicit that he is not involved with the golf tournament.
My father runs an annual golf tournament, and this golf event hasn't always contained a charitable component, but has always been in dedication to my mother to bring awareness to FTD. I would often be present at these events, but beyond giving an occasional speech, I was not and still am not involved in any of the event planning. I want to stress that not a dollar raised from Indieland and its supporters was ever used on anything to personally benefit me, my family, or any of our companies.
This is a very strange statement that implies no wrongdoing on Indieland's part, yet negates to bring in the golf tournament into the conversation.
Face tracking.
What's
thing is
more,
screwed up
Gerard
again.
did attempt to clarify some of the numbers, though the lack of receipts did not do him any favors.
In 2019, the foundation reported $123,816 in revenue.
This is correct. The 990 PS for 2019 does show that exact amount for the revenue.
But the accusers alleged that $14,000 is unaccounted for. Our books do reconcile, and these accusations are the result of bad math and missing information. The 2019 Indieland's net proceeds were $82,409.19.
Here's where the issue lies. In 2019, the year in question, Gerard stated on Twitter that the preliminary earnings from Indieland were $119,418. Preliminary earnings are net earnings. Yet somehow
Okay, what the
states
fuck? They could-
the
you
net
could fix
earnings for
that on the thing, but not
2019
fix
were
Mudahar's
actually
name.
$82,409. That is a $27,000 difference. But perhaps Gerard meant gross earnings. But when checking the 990 PF's expenses, they were not $27,000 for 2019, they were reported as $13,000 in total for 2019.
And when combined with $31,371.55 in revenue from the golf tournament and $10,000 from a direct supporter, it adds up to $123,780.74.
Using Gerard's prior statements, the lack of reported
Steiner
expenses
math
still
is more
doesn't add up, and
comprehensible.
Gerard still fails to provide a receipt
Tell me when
even
I'm
after this
telling
video
lies.
came out. On the topic of expenses, Indieland throughout the years was making the bold statements alongside Gerard that all the money was going to the Open Hand Foundation. And even in Indieland 2023, he reiterated this.
Thank you, Bernie Link, for the Prime. As a reminder, all bits and subs, including Amazon Primes, go towards the charity as well. So it's all a pass through, all going for a good cause.
Sure, in his response video, he said this.
Income from Twitch subscriptions and bits, along with merchandise, have offset some of the production costs.
It is common for fundraisers to recoup the cost for events, though it is uncommon for fundraisers to claim all the money goes untouched, then turn around and use the money.
Gerard taking donations to pay for Indieland is not only him spending donations on himself, it's him paying for something that he directly benefits from. But besides, what he spends that money on is ultimately irrelevant. He said he would give that money to charity, but instead, he spent it. That's fraud, that's theft, and that is embezzlement. And what makes this even worse is that he would then go and lie, trying to take credit for paying for everything himself.
So for those of you guys who don't know, we had a show last year, and it went great, but it was very expensive, and TOBG covered the cost of it, but we have kind of a rule of like, we want to make sure that like, as we do charity events, that we're not costing the charity organization or really anyone outside of our awesome sponsors. The guys at FlyQuest who've been so supportive, we want to make sure that the money that we do raise actually goes to charity and is spent properly.
Carl's video has 3 minutes of clips back-to-back of Gerard stating how all the money was going to charity. While some of these clips can be excused as Gerard states proceeds, which can mean net or gross income, it is clear that Gerard was misleading his audience and that he was recouping the cost for Indieland. Regardless, going forward, Gerard stated that he was stripping the charity aspect of Indieland. One of the few receipts he did provide was an autopsy report that none of the content creators requested.
When my mother passed away in 2013, we donated her brain and spinal cord to the same academics and doctors we worked with to further
I love
advance
this
their
receipt no one
research.
asked for.
There's a link in the description to her autopsy report that confirms her brain and spinal cord were both donated to science.
Who cares?
This was an extremely personal decision for us. Because of my family's history, we had considered all legacy efforts that we had personally made to be a part of the Open Hand Foundation's history.
With as much confusion as there was surrounding the scandal, there are two things that are reinforced as fact in this video. Gerard is a liar, and even when apologizing, he inaccurately portrays what he's apologizing for.
Look, any way you say this, action needed to be taken. And to that point, I'm sorry. I'm disappointed.
I mean, I never went and said to people, hey, I'm going to attach my mother's autopsy just so you know that when I'm doing these breast cancer charity things, that she actually died of that. Like, as if I'm going to fuck with you all and be like, oh no, she actually died of a heart attack. It had nothing to do with breast cancer. Like, what?
That I was not more straightforward regarding the foundation's timeline for making donations, and that I made statements potentially implying donations were made when they had not yet been.
Gerard was stating that these were applications, or something he suggested indirectly, but he directly stated,
currently working with the University of San Francisco, and we're kind of one of their main funding support partners.
That was 2020. In the timeline, this is when Gerard alleges he did not know the money was not being donated. But then this was in 2023 when Gerard knew he was lying.
Boy with my dad in honor of my mom who had dementia. And so
I love Skillable down there in the corner.
Every year we try to raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with, Alzheimer's Association of America, University of San Francisco, Association for FTD, which is what my mom had, FTD. So we've worked with big and small organizations across the board. And he was like, it'd be really cool if we did a show all about raising money for people who are making huge headways. And
it gets worse and stranger. There's a tweet where Gerard states that he raises a total of $600,000 to $750,000 yearly for various charities.
A year?
These unproven claims are entirely bizarre, but don't exist in a vacuum. And Gerard's continuous lies only provided fuel to Carl Jobst and Mudahar's response videos.
Most of Gerard's video is him going over information unrelated to me, my videos, or my claims. He hardly addresses my concerns about the golf charity event money, essentially saying, we didn't take the money, trust me bro. He provides no bank statements, no accounting, nothing. Apparently, we just have to take this proven liar at his word, which unfortunately, I'm not willing to do.
It literally requires you to take this man's word, which over the course of this whole investigation has shown you should do anything but take his word, without actual receipts.
The internet finding out that Gerard was a liar was certainly shocking. as was Gerard's threats.
These allegations were made by individuals who self-admittedly aren't even financial or legal professionals. These allegations are slanderous, and we believe we're done.
That sounds like his
with
dad
selfish intent.
talking.
What a pathetic bitch.
Gerard phrasing the video in such a way only served to strengthen the disdain of him, though this aggression is thought to have been pushed by his brother Jock, who was supposedly seen on Reddit, stating that he was the one going to push the lawsuit.
My brother was the aggressive jock named Jacques, who was 5'6", but like jumping in the face of the biggest quarterback, headbutt first into them. So that was kind of, abrasive guy.
Those Reddit comments no longer exist, so beyond a screenshot, it is hard to prove that Jock was continuously instigating. As for the rest of the Completionist Reddit, what was once a subreddit dedicated to the discussion of Completionist episodes had turned into a place to follow the ongoing drama. A mod, exhausted with the ongoing discourse, made the announcement that any new post related to the ongoing drama would be removed, going as far to interject their own selfish reasoning. Quote, "These last several weeks have been very difficult on me. Having to sit by and watch people tear down a person that I have talked with personally multiple times, as well as someone who had been a cornerstone of my life for over 10 years now." Unquote. And there were attempts to shift the conversation back to the Completionist episodes, but Redditors were not so enthusiastic to engage in such conversations. At this point, the mods just set the subreddit to private, and a newly erected Completionist 2 that allowed free speech filled the void of its predecessor. It was here that a 5-minute long compilation of Gerard stating all the money was going to charity could be found. Additionally, it was discovered that Gerard was removing comments talking about the charity in his videos. In terms of lessening the backlash, this was hardly effective. Also in December, his character was removed from the indie game Sea of Stars, which there were memes made about. Woodhar released a call with Gerard, and various creators that either knew Gerard or of Gerard found his actions to be reprehensible. There was even a harddrive.net article about Gerard 100%ing his career, but Gerard did not seem to think so. After a break following his response video, he released a new Completionist video in January of 2024.
Before we start today's video, I want to recognize that I know that I have lost a lot of your trust at home, and I want to spend as much time as it will take to rebuild and re-earn your trust.
Yeah,
it's going to take
exactly.
time,
Gatsper.
but I'm willing to put in the commitment, and I hope you give me a chance. So with that said, thank you for being here, and thanks for watching. Everyone who knows me knows that Super Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time.
That awkward transition between lightly addressing heavy allegations to then shifting to the Completionist series did not win over viewers. This is made clear by the top comments he forgot to delete. On Reddit, there was a particular comment, or rather post, that was garnering attention. Greg Wilmont came back from the abyss to comment on the situation. Quote, "I'm happy to say that my hands are entirely clean in this situation. This whole ordeal is one of the exact reasons why I had to remove all of my videos. I had a feeling that there would be some sort of controversy associated with that family after my departure, and I wanted nothing to do with it." Unquote. The other channels Gerard was involved in followed suit and announced they would be continuing without his involvement. Gerard has continued to upload videos despite them being poorly received. His Social Blade shows that his views have fallen to 500,000 a month, and his videos, though they have been rebranded to exclude his image from the thumbnails, cannot wipe away the stain of a serial liar. On a stream in March, he expands on where TOVG is now.
I've made the tough decision to close down the office. And so we're in the middle of closing operations and moving everything to my house. And so we're kind of trying to build like a completionist set, if you will, in my garage.
Where he once boasted all the employees that worked on his videos in the description, now in current uploads, none are found. Though the charity money at minimum was donated, this scandal changed his image. Where Gerard was once viewed as a pillar of the community that had the purest intentions, has now been rebranded as a pathetic manipulator who will lie on a whim to enhance his appearance. Gerard is untrustworthy, irresponsible, and morally conflicted. And at most, Gerard is a fraud.
Thank you again for War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox using the link in the pinned comment or the description.
What a fucking ending. He's a fraud. Thank you, War Thunder. Oh, and thank you all for stopping by. Yeah, I mean, I do feel somewhat more sympathetic towards him, only in the sense of that, like, he was doomed. Like, it's obvious that his father is fucked him royally. Has fucked him up royally. Just like I'm sorry, when you have that if you need a therapist, fine, but 5 fucking therapists, like, I'm sorry, no. Like, you have something. First of all, if you need 5, like, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, welcome, Art. Unfortunately, came at kind of a bad time while I'm wrapping up. We just finished watching the video. Father, I'd say sperm donor. Well, I mean, I think probably, and also, like, it was probably issues with the mother. I mean, she had those symptoms for a while. I mean, it was probably, what do they say, over a decade? I mean, that shit drains you, and that does. I mean, I've had emotional damage done to me due to what my mom went through by no fault of her own. You know what I mean? And I have, certain emotional scars because of it. But, at the same time, though, it's like, you gotta take some fucking responsibility, buddy. You know what I mean? And at some point, you just have to go to your father and be like, you know what? Fuck you, Dad. Like, Nintendo is fucking paying me. Fuck you. So, I'm not a fucking gas distributor or whatever. It's like, piss off. Like, I don't know. This whole thing was, I learned more about his past, and most of the other stuff I pretty much already knew because of following the story. Like I said, this one hit me different because it dealt with a charity thing, or a guy doing essentially what I was doing yearly, raising money for charity, and that, because I didn't want anyone, or I would like it so that no one else has to go through what I went through with my mother, or donate money for the research on it to help cut down on that. It helps just one person, then it's worth it. And to see him go and just piss that away, and now now it's harder. I guarantee you that because of this, that charity shit has gone down online. All because of him. All because he couldn't do the right thing. And the fact that they didn't donate the money to charity until they were found out. I mean, what, the story broke in November, they made a donation in December? Oh, you suddenly found a good charity or good cause out of nowhere? Oh, okay. Well, that was an ordeal, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Is there anyone we can jump? Thank everyone for stopping by. Anyone we can jump to in a redirect? Probably nope, of course not. At least on the YouTube side. What about Twitch? Right, exactly. You should always be, wary of who you donate to. But because of this, or you should at least make sure that it's going to a reputable charity. But now it's like it's so much harder to take people's word for it. Yeah, anytime, Casper. I guess on the Twitch side, we'll jump to Serpent Hunter. Because why not? Oh, you won't be home. People always make second guess. Yeah. But yeah, it sucks about Thursday after Rye said that he can make it. So we'll figure something out. Worst case scenario is always Fortnite. Anyways, have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.